Hi friends, this is your pal Scott Garibay, and today we are going to talk about Dungeons and Dragons, and we're going to talk about the OSR and the Indies' disposition toward Dungeons and Dragons and how disrespectful it is, and why it upsets me for how the 90% of OSR and indie creators are outrageously disrespectful to Dungeons and Dragons when they owe Dungeons and Dragons. It is not fair and really just outrageously wrong and needs to get fixed. And we're going to talk about this through the lens of the brand new Disney Plus Daredevil Reborn. And I believe this is season 4 of Daredevil. And I just finished it. It was absolutely fantastic. If you haven't watched it, it's 5 out of 5 stars. I highly suggest watching it. And I want to explain, why the OSR and Indies treatment of Dungeons and Dragons is so disrespectful and inappropriate and offensive, in my humble opinion. All right, so let me get into it. All right. So in Daredevil, Karen and Foggy were part of Matt Murdock's law firm, and they all worked together, right? And Foggy is assassinated by Bullseye at the very start of Daredevil Reborn, season 4 of Daredevil. Okay, so you have that problem happen, and so Foggy is dead. Now Matt Murdock goes to war against Fisk, right, Kingpin, in New York for control of New York to make New York safe. And who is it going to be safe for? Fisk is making it safe for millionaire criminals like himself, right? And for gang members and for murderers and killers, right? So then, who are killing good people, okay? That distinction will become important in a moment. So you have that situation. And then, at the end of the show, Fisk gets in full control, and he uses all the police in the city. Actually, he purges any police that are not dirty, right? And so now he has an entire force of dirty cops, right? And he sends them to murder Matt Murdock. Not even Daredevil, just straight up the lawyer Matt Murdock, right? And Karen gets wind of this before it happens, and so she reaches out to Frank Castle, the Punisher, and she says, "Listen, you got to do the right thing, and you got to go help Daredevil." Right now, Daredevil has already tried to engage the Punisher and get him to fight the way he's fight without murdering people, which Frank Castle doesn't do. He straight murders people left and right, but he murders evil people. That's an interesting distinction. And Punisher is legit one of the most interesting heroes in all of Marvel. Because he is a murderer. He's just straight up a murderer. He murders people left and right. That's not debatable. It's just the way it is. He is a savage murderer, right? So this gets interesting because you have this situation where he is murdering people, right? And Daredevil is trying to work with him. At the end, Karen reaches out to Punisher and says, "Listen, they're gonna kill Matt Murdock. They're gonna kill Daredevil. You got to go help him." So he does. He goes, and there are a whole bunch of dirty cops, no less than I think they kill 10, 15 cops and just murder them. Now Matt Murdock does not. He breaks people and harms people, and I think he might have killed one or two by accident, but he doesn't purposely murder police officers, right? Punisher purposely murders police officers. That is a different level. That is just different level. That is pretty astounding, okay? And so you have this situation, and all this is going on, but Punisher helps. He actually finishes the job, right? And he saves Matt Murdock, right? And then Punisher and Matt Murdock go back to they reconnoiter, they rally point with Karen at Punisher's headquarters, right, where he has all his weapons and it's his safe house and all this. And so they get there, and Punisher is like, and first he had berated Matt Murdock. He's like, when I come to your home, there's no coffee, right? Like, he's like, there should be coffee. So they get to Punisher's place, and Punisher, they're all kind of spitting down. They're literally licking their wounds and, like, putting on gauze and kind of determining what their next step is, right? And there's this incredible scene where Punisher says, "Hey, do you want some coffee?" He asks Karen, he's like, "Would you like a cup of coffee?" Right? And he's making himself a cup of coffee. And he's like, there's no problem a cup of coffee can't solve. And first of all, I love Punisher. I've been collecting his comics for years. I literally collected the entire line, 1 through 102. And I also bought Punisher War Journals. I love the Punisher. And so this really kind of touched me when I saw what they were doing. And so he said, "Hey, it was really touching." He's like, "Hey, Karen, do you want a cup of coffee?" And she's like, "No, thanks." Right? And then Matt Murdock, he's like, "Would you like a cup of coffee?" And Matt's like, "Yes." Right? So Punisher makes himself a cup of coffee, and he makes Matt Murdock a cup of coffee, and then he takes the cup of coffee over to Matt Murdock. Karen and Matt Murdock talk for a little while, Daredevil, and then they just leave. They leave, right? They don't drink the coffee. And I realized, like, Punisher is a straight up murderer. This guy is like, no one in the Marvel universe likes him except one other person. And I'm going to leave that out for the purposes of this video because it's probably its own video at some point. And he's really alone, right? But he's like, right now, we're friends, and you're going to give me a little bit of respect by just sitting, and we're going to talk, and we're going to reminisce, and we're just going to drink a cup of coffee together because you respect me and you're thankful for what I just did, which was saving your life. And Karen couldn't be bothered to have a cup of coffee, and Matt Murdock actually says, "Make me the coffee," and doesn't drink it, right? And it was so offensive, right? It was just so offensive. And the reason why is they recognize that what the Punisher does is extremely important and powerful, but they don't like the way he does it. So they disrespect him at the deepest fundamental level. It was just outrageous disrespect and ungratefulness. And we see this all over the OSR. Right now, the place you see this clearest is Kelsey Dionne. Listen to Kelsey Dionne. She always says 5E. She will never even say the name of Dungeons and Dragons. And she really pretends that her product is better than theirs, even though, right, every now and then it will break through. And one of the things I thought was really interesting was, there was all this debate. Everybody was like, "Oh, we're outraged by the OGL crisis. We're outraged by the OGL crisis." You know what Kelsey Dionne said? She said, Shadowdark would not have been the success it was without the OGL. She said the OGL massively helped Shadowdark, right? But she won't have the cup of coffee. She will not give D&D its flowers. And you see this all over the OSR and the Indie. They owe everything they have to Dungeons & Dragons. Dungeons & Dragons continues to do the hard work and set the bar of quality and accomplish things that the OSR and the Indie can't even spell, right? Intellectual property crossovers, hundreds of $1 million shows and movies, right? Deals with billionaires, right? The OSR and Indie can't even spell these things, let alone accomplish them. But they're constantly side-eyeing it. And this is where we are right now. In America, overall, we have this huge, there's coming a reckoning, right? Right now, every single European nation, America's like, we're not paying for your defense anymore. We don't care if Russia rolls across, takes Germany, Britain, and France. You guys pay for your own defense. And the reason why is it's just the level of disrespect that is seen is so outrageously beyond anything that is reasonable, right? All of Europe had free healthcare, right? Why? Because they didn't have to pay for tanks and missiles and fighter jets, right? Because they knew we would do that, right? But rather than be like, you know what, we have it great and we have this wonderful thing, They mocked America for not having what we paid for them to have, right? It's just a level of disrespect that is so outrageous and so unfair that it's appalling. It's absolutely appalling. Kelsey Dionne, Dungeons and Dragons deserves Kelsey Dionne's respect. She should put more respect in her mouth when she talks about Dungeons and Dragons. Every single word you just heard in this video is my humble opinion. The important part is when I get to hear your humble opinion when you get in the comments and send your traffic. Please consider like subscribing and have a fetch millennium.